Hey, I'm going to go over today some SketchUp 101 kind of things, like how to find basic tools, how to maneuver throughout. Just because some of you guys like what videos instead of looking at um, PDFs or what have you. So I'm going to get you started. If you don't have SketchUp located at the bottom of your desktop, then you're going to hit Command Spacebar, and when you do that, you can just start typing in SketchUp, and you'll find it that way. And then this should pop up here. When you first come in, you'll hit Start using SketchUp, and it will load up for you. Mine may look a little bit different rather than yours. You might have like a few extra tools here, but remind me later. And I'm not gonna do those right now. So when you first come in, you'll have your SketchUp large menu up here, and then these are some tools that are preset for you to use. Down here is your measurements. It tells you the distance, how big something is. So let's just go through these really quick. File, the thing you're going to be using the most is going to be your save as. When you create a SketchUp project, I would encourage you to save it as soon as you get in, save it constantly. Save it to your desktop. So your desktop's this part of your Mac, so you can find it quickly. And it's going to be known as a .skp file or a SketchUp file. That becomes important because if you want to do 3D printing, most 3D printers won't work on SKP file. We'll have to change it. So I just want to point out that that's what it's going to be known as, and you'll see it over here as a .skp, instead of a PDF or PNG. Okay. File also will have some things like your 3D warehouse, which that's not going to be useful for most of you starting off. Editing, these are the things that a lot of your hotkeys will do. So to undo something, you would normally do Command Z to cut, copy, and paste, Command X, C, and V. So for the most part, you won't be using tons of these. You'll be using the hotkeys because you'll know how to use those. View, this will be useful later on. I'll show you when we build our first little box how there's some things in here that can be really useful to you. But also here you'll have tool palettes. And you can go ahead and choose have these tool sets. Now you notice that some of these things are already up here in the top, but this is most of your tools are already available here. So if you feel like you can't find something that you need, like the Follow Me tool or something else, the 3D text tool that you don't see up here, you can just go to view your tool palettes. And if you don't want to see it anymore, just click off of it and it'll go away. Drawing, well, you won't use this very often. You'll have everything available here, but it'll let you choose how you want to draw your lines, if you want to do freehand or a normal line. Camera can be useful. Later on, you'll be able to make tours, and this kind of thing will let you set scenes and stuff like that. Okay, all these tools, once again, are found here. And yeah, basically, you won't be using tons of this other than the saving, playing with your views, and then here later on, we'll look at face styles. So really basic kind of stuff. Selection tool, eraser, drawing lines, and you hold this down. If it has a little arrow, just hold it down longer. Arcs, different types of arcs, different kinds of shapes, so squares, circles, push and pull tool. So let's go start by drawing a rectangle. You can see what it is. This green line is an axis. This is typically what I would associate with your Y, so height. As in if this was 2D, this would be the height of something. Red would be sort of your X axis, and then blue is what we would call a Z, or in traditional sense, like your height when you're standing up. So you're on an axis right now. I know that he's on the correct axis. You see this line's red, and this is green, and so on. So I draw that. If I want to make this pull up, I would use the push-pull tool. I'm going to pull this up like this. This button right here, and if you hover over something, it will show you what it is. This is your offset tool. You'll use this sometimes to create a offset or a box that's a certain distance away from the outside. So Command Z if I wanted to undo that. If I click on it and then I type in 4 feet and hit return, well, it went way too far. Maybe let's try that again. Let's do Oh man, I'm just messing up, man. Amateur, amateur. Yeah, 4 is too much. Like that. Let's just do like that. You can type in the dimensions that you want that way. Right here's your move. So you can select parts and move them around, or whole objects. Make sure you click. Right here's rotate. This right here is rotating. Rotating can be really frustrating. You can click on it and then you can determine how many degrees of rotation you want, like this. This will be more useful when you start adding objects in, like pieces of furniture. Scale is to change the overall scale of something. So it gives you these handles, and you can condense or stretch those things. The tape measure is very useful. You click on one point, you click on the other point. You know, on the bottom it says length, but you can see the little tagline that tells you that this is 6 feet 9 inches and 9/16. So a little bit taller than the guy standing on the side here. And then you can click off again. You can add labels. You can paint. When you come in here, you can choose to do solid colors. You can also choose materials, so like water, and there's all these other things in here like brick, you know, like that style there, this type of brick. So there's just a whole bunch. Also opacity. This is sort of seen like a wrap, like a piece of paper on top of it, so you can get rid of the opacity, which is how transparent something is. So you can reduce it and you can see through it better, which, because there's a white thing behind it, you can't really see a whole much there. We also have the rotate tool, which is a camera tool, which is very useful. With your Mac trackbook, you can pinch. You can do a lot of this stuff without using the rotate tool, but this is to move the camera concisely, this little hand. Of course, you have your zooms. This is zoom to extents, which means put the whole object lined up perfectly in the middle of the screen. So if you're working on something and you scroll off, you can click that to go find it. Later on, you're going to need to find a way to your 3D warehouse to find particular objects, so maybe like a slide or something like that. This is where people put on objects that they've made. The temptation for some of you guys will be just to go here and grab stuff. Obviously, that's not what I'm intending for you to do. I want you to learn how to build stuff on your own. And you can see some things are not well built either, and they won't necessarily fit what you have. But you can find a lot of useful things in here. And that's really the key to SketchUp, is knowing how to use these basic tools. The way SketchUp sees things is almost like origami or folded papers. These walls have no thickness. It doesn't understand thickness. It just understands corners and edges, and from that you can build some really incredible things. This should cover most of the basic stuff for SketchUp. So let me know if you have any questions.